Earth-like planets outside the solar system? Science fiction?
No, science faction.
Join us, Seth Shostak and
Molly Bentley and
KSJE, Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. for Big Picture Science.
Big Picture Science steps back to get the wide-angle view on science and technology.
So think big. Big Picture Science, Saturdays at 8 a.m.
on KSJE, the information and cultural beacon of the Four Corners.
San Juan Regional Medical Center is your community hospital, committed to making life better for the communities we are privileged to serve. In fact, better is our mission, improving lives through personalized health and care. What matters most to our patients matters most to us, offering a comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and emergency care services so you can get the quality care you need right here at home. San Juan Regional Medical Center, celebrating life better here since 1910.
3 days of wonder as hot air balloons from across the nation fly over our Farmington skies the mornings of September 23rd through the 25th and light up the nights in the midst of vendors and live entertainment. Friday night they'll be at San Juan College, followed by Patrick and the Las Vegas Band on stage at the Henderson Performing Arts Center. Saturday night they'll be at Justice Park Ballfields, followed by the Guess Who live at Ricketts Park. All balloon events are free. Find info and concert tickets at fourcornersballoonrally.com.
Twelve minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Thursday morning, the 8th day of September 2022. Good morning, everybody. I'm Scott Michlin. Forgot the date there for a moment, but I'm glad that you're with me this morning. Thank you for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM over the air here in San Juan County, New Mexico. In Durango, Colorado, of course, you can tune us in anytime at 103.3 FM, and anywhere else on the planet, you can tune us in from our website. The stream is always on at KSJE.com. We also welcome our viewers because this is a community-supported visual radio station, so the video today is out streaming live to the KSJE Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our Twitter account. So we're glad that you are all with us this morning. Coming up, our update on economic development here in the region. Arvin Trujillo is my guest from Four Corners Economic Development. We hope you'll stay tuned for my conversation with Arvin coming up in the next few moments right here on KSJE. Then later on this morning, we'll have another guest in the chair coming in from Aztec. The Aztec Painted Pianos event is happening a week from Saturday. We'll hear more about that, what they have planned at Pinyon Park, coming up this morning at 8:50 a.m. right here on KSJE. That's part of the Aztec Chamber of Commerce event in Aztec, New Mexico. Next hour, of course, Mick Hess will be here roving with the arts, and Mick is playing some more music from female composer Fanny Mendelssohn Hensel. That is coming up today, 9:06 on KSJE. And don't forget, you can also connect with us on our Instagram page in addition to Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. And if you're a podcast person, we invite you to subscribe for free to KSJE Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and maybe discover a new program that you may have missed recently. Outside our studios here at San Juan College, it's a partly sunny morning today, 66 degrees at the moment. Humidity coming in at 45%. We are expecting a partly sunny day today with a high of 94. Partly cloudy skies tonight with a low of 62. It'll be partly sunny tomorrow with a high of 92 on Friday, and then maybe a chance of showers on Saturday and Sunday with highs cooler near 80 degrees on Saturday and Sunday, and overnight lows in the mid to lower 60s. Well, let me turn to my guest who is here with me this morning. As I mentioned, from Four Corners Economic Development, Arvin Trujillo is back for his regular visit with me, which I do appreciate. Good morning.
Good morning, Scott. Good to be here.
Good to have you back, and thank you for coming in to talk a little bit about some of the economic development efforts that are going on here in the community. And so, what's the latest? You've had a few special meetings and some other stuff coming up, I know.
Yeah, we had a number of federal agencies come in, and we had some very senior people come in last Thursday, to initiate the development of what they're calling a rapid response team. And so we had a couple meetings here at the School of Energy. They toured and had a press conference. So I can talk a little bit about that. We got a couple events coming up. One, again, we talked a little bit about this the last time I was here, about the railroad.
Right.
But we've got a public information meeting or two of them coming up. The first one will be on the 13th in Shiprock at the Phil Thomas Performing Center. And then the other one will be on the 14th here at Farmington at the Civic Center.
Okay.
And then another event coming up later in the month on the 28th, we have Dr. Daniel Fine coming in. And Dr. Fine has a lot of insight looking at world events and and he has a good way of really distilling that down to what does it mean for San Juan County. And so he's going to be coming in on the 28th, giving us his insights on a number of different subjects related to San Juan County, in particular, how they relate to economic development. And so I want to invite folks to that too.
All right, very good. I know Dr. Fine, I've heard him speak primarily about the energy industry. Is that mostly what he's focused on?
That's what he's focused on, given the events happening in Russia, the natural gas being shut off, changes that are happening there in Europe, and then the relationships between Russia and China now, and how that could affect us and what we need to start looking at and how we might want to position ourselves here in San Juan County.
Very good. Well, let me back up a little bit and start asking you about some of the things that you mentioned, this rapid response team from the federal government. So who was here and what were they looking for or asking about?
Yes, we had individuals from the White House, the Department of Interior, Department of Energy, the National Labs, all congregate here. From the White House, we had a gentleman by the name of Brian Dees, who heads up their economic consortium there at the White House. We had Deb Haaland, Secretary of the Interior, here. We had, Secretary Granholm was also going to come, but some things came up, but she sent one of her immediate assistants, and she led the meeting for the Department of Energy. We had Briggs White and George Guthrie from the National Labs, as well as from the Department of Energy. So we had a variety of people coming in, really looking at what they could do to help us take advantage of the bipartisan infrastructure legislation,
right?
And then the newly passed Inflation Reduction Act. There's a lot of money in there tied to those two bills. And one of the concerns that I had voiced was that there is a lot of money there. We're a coal-reliant community, but we're not seeing that money coming down into the region here. And so there is a lot of interest here looking at our partnership with the Navajo Nation, looking at what we're trying to achieve here as we transition from the coal and oil and gas industries to other opportunities. And so again, the federal agencies are coming in to see how can they begin to work better together to help and assist us in bringing some of those dollars here into the county.
Gotcha. And so this money is, I guess, earmarked to try to help shift the community away from its reliance on maybe coal and those types of industries into the future? Is that kind of the idea?
That's the idea. And then also looking at how do we look at new opportunities like in manufacturing. How do we begin to build the necessary infrastructure like broadband, like the railroad, looking at road improvements, looking at these things from an infrastructure aspect and then from an economic development aspect. How do we bring workforce development into the area? How do we become more effective in recruiting businesses to come into the area? And so again, it's looking at these things, coming up with these. We have these different projects, but now we're looking at, okay, how can we work with the government to bring dollars into the area? Because sometimes these application processes could be very labor intensive.
Right, sure.
Plus that at times, especially here in the Four Corners area, we get caught in the fact that we're in the Four Corners area. We have 4 different states, we have different tribes. And so there's at times are different rules, or sometimes there are conflicts between agencies on how funding can flow down. And so we're trying to get past all of that and develop more simpler ways or more productive ways of bringing those dollars here into the Four Corners region.
I see. And is it maybe a positive sign that the federal government is coming in, so maybe they can maybe kind of cut through some of the state and other issues and work at a federal level to say these types of efforts might help the whole region rather than just a corner of New Mexico or a corner of Colorado or the other corners?
Exactly. That's kind of what we're really looking at right now. I've been involved with teams like this when I worked with Arizona Public Service Company when we did the lease agreement and the retrofit there for the power plant, extending that lease. I also did it with the Navajo Nation, looking at agricultural development and irrigation development, water delivery and water development on the nation. We had different teams, federal teams like this, and they proved to be very effective because once they began to talk with one another and they were aware of the kind of projects that we're working on, they were able to then help us look at the application processes. They were aware of it. That way we could really cut through a lot of the red tape to get to funding possibilities and get those dollars in and start actual project development.
Got you. That leads me to ask you about the next item on the list that you mentioned, which is the railroad, these public meetings that are coming up next week, it sounds like. Is that something that got their attention at the federal level? Because that has to be a federal a project that gets some federal assistance. I don't expect them to pay for the whole thing, but I mean, it certainly is a regional project as well. It would add to the economic development of the entire region, as you and I have discussed here before.
Yes, it caught their attention. Many of them were somewhat aware of it, but now they are very aware of it, and we'll be keeping that in the forefront of everything that we're doing right now. And again, one thing that we're looking at, we're kicking this whole process off. We're going to have a couple of public meetings. They're not necessarily hearings, they're meetings, information meetings. And what we want to do is introduce the communities to who's working on this project. We want to kind of give them an idea as to what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be proceeding through this process. And the first meeting that we're looking at, it will be down in Shiprock at the Phil Thomas Performing Arts Center. Mm-hmm. That's going to be on September 13th. We're looking at a start time of about 4 o'clock. And then the next day, the whole team will be up here in Farmington at the Civic Center. And again, with a 4 o'clock p.m. start at the Civic Center. And again, we're wanting to just show the public, this is kind of what we're looking at. Here's the scope we're going to be looking at. Here's what we're possibly going to be looking for the community for questions as we move through this process. And so again, it's beginning to inform the communities what this is going to entail, what's involved, how we're going to proceed through this, and the types of information we're going to be gathering from the communities.
Very good. You need to take questions at this, or is it just a presentation?
We're going to be taking questions. We're going to probably set it up kind of like a workshop style process where we'll have stations in different areas so people can get a better view of different aspects about the projects or about the project, but there's semi-projects within this huge project. And this will be an opportunity for people to ask questions, get some insights on what we're doing. We may, not may, I'm hoping that as we begin to inform the public, they also give us insights on things that they see important to them. So again, the idea here is to make sure that we answer the questions that the public has, and we're aware of concerns that they may have as we move through this feasibility study.
Right, and there's still a lot of things that are yet to be decided. I mean, the route and the costs and all this. I mean, it's very early in the process.
This is very early in the process. This is just kind of...
So folks shouldn't show up expecting to see where the tracks are going to get laid down on a map or something.
No, but what they'll see is they'll see arrows on there saying, here are possible routes that we may be looking at.
Okay.
And, what are your thoughts about that? And again, we're not tying it down to say, well, here are the actual options we're going to be looking at. We're not to that area yet, but we're looking at that. We're looking at understanding, here's the routes we'll possibly be looking at. Here are possible areas we'll tie in on the I-40 corridor. Mm-hmm. Here's maybe where we're going to be looking at transloading facility on the southern terminal here. We're going to be looking at, what do we, or what our community is looking at? Should it go through their particular community or their chapter? What are they looking at? Where are we kind of thinking about putting these areas and locating these areas? And so again, it's just giving people the beginning aspects of here's the project, and more importantly, introducing the team to them. Here are the team members. Here are people that you're going to be seeing at different meetings. Here are contacts that you can have, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just the very beginning.
Gotcha. Maybe a bit of a timeline, too, as to certain milestones that you hope to meet as this thing moves forward. I know you've gotten this big grant to start this process, which is what we're talking about. And so hopefully the idea is that you'll meet these certain milestones, and then as more money comes in, hopefully from your meetings with these other folks, we can start maybe seeing some possible construction begin.
Right. Because again, there's a whole process we'll have to look at. We'll do this feasibility work. We'll get those questions answered. We'll look at what the cost is going to be. The next phase of that is going to be going through a NEPA process. We're anticipating that. What will that entail? This feasibility work will help give us an idea as to what we're going to have to do there. And then once we get the necessary approvals from that process, then we start looking at construction. And of course, all of that effort is tied into getting the necessary capital funding into this project so we can continue to move forward with this. And again, that's where the education, that's where the information flows so that people are informed, people know what's happening, and people understand what we're trying to achieve as we move forward on this project. So we're really excited about this.
Right. That is exciting to see that moving a bit forward and getting more information out to the public, which I think is really important as well. You mentioned Dr. Fine, who is coming in to speak about energy on the 28th of September. That'll be an event open to the public, too.
That will be open to the public. We'll be getting information out on that through our website as well as our Facebook and our LinkedIn pages. But, Dr. Fine has come in before, and he's spoken about what's happening out between Russia and Ukraine and the possibilities from that conflict. He's given insight on what his thoughts have been. He was looking at the possibility that they would maybe shut the natural gas off to Europe.
Well, there's stories in the news again today about that possibility, right?
And what the possible impacts would be there. And again, he's looking at, as these things happen, he's beginning to see more and more of an alliance being developed between Russia and China, which means there may be opportunities really looking at Europe and the U.S., and looking at some of our natural resources to help accommodate what needs to happen in Europe. And so again, those alliances seem to be coming up. Unfortunately, that's something that on a worldwide basis you don't want to see. It comes back to looking at things that we remember with the Cold War when we were younger.
Right.
And but we're seeing those things. And so again, we're looking at how do we begin to diversify our economy, what opportunities are lying out there for us. And so we're looking at those aspects to say, how do we begin to look at this and how maybe we be prepared? So if Europe needs our help, we're in a position to help them.
Right. And of course, the world, the global economy runs on energy. Where do you get that energy from? If you're not going to buy it from Russia anymore, then where do you go? And the idea, I think, the United States is trying to set itself up as is to say, hey, we're over here. Let's work on trying to figure out a way to get this energy to you in an economically viable way. Can't really probably do a pipeline, but maybe some liquefied natural gas on a tanker ship across the ocean. And for folks maybe in the San Juan Basin, they may be thinking, well, I can't get my natural gas to Europe, but maybe if supplies from the East Coast are going to Europe, maybe we can start supplying the East Coast with San Juan Basin natural gas. I don't know.
Again, we don't
This is
know.
why I sit here and don't sit in a big corner office in an oil and gas company somewhere. But just thinking off the top of my head, I imagine Dr. Fine has some very interesting thoughts about that.
Yes. And again, he has a lot of insight in these areas. His expertise is in the energy field, especially oil and gas. And so he follows this through. He has a tremendous network out there, not only throughout the U.S. but throughout the world. And so he's been able to look at these different aspects, and he's been able to come back and really bring it down to where, how does this possibly affect New Mexico, looking at the Permian Basin and the San Juan Basin.
Right.
And then even more specifically, he looks at the San Juan Basin and says, okay, this is where you guys may want to begin to look at some possibilities and begin thinking in these areas. And so again, he's willing to share his thoughts and what he sees. And I think it's something that really kind of helps put a perspective on what's happening in the world. And for me, it really begins to show that, what happens around the world will affect what happens here in San Juan County. We are truly a global, we have a global economy. And so again, the better we understand and the better we know what's happening in other parts of the world, that could help us as we prepare ourselves, looking at new opportunities, looking at economic diversification, looking at these kind of things and really figuring out, okay, how do we best prepare ourselves for the future as we look forward?
Very true. Very true. Other thing I wanted to ask you about, Arvin Trujillo, that happened since the last time you and I spoke together was the announcement from the state that they are going to be investing almost $40 million in San Juan County on a long-awaited road project here. I remember the people talking about it when I first got to town 25 years ago. And so this has got big implications, I think, for economic development as well, from just the local jobs created during construction to then the long-term economic development of having a somewhat major arterial opening up on a previously kind of uncharted area of the county. Now, there are roads in that area, of course, but the idea that we're talking about is the Pinyon Hills extension that would come south from Pinyon Hills Boulevard in Farmington at East Main Street, cross the river, go up Crouch Mesa, and tie into the road that cuts across Crouch Mesa and hook into kind of a little jog to Andrea Drive to get across to Highway 64. That's what we're talking about.
Yes, and again, it really brings, it continues to tie the full county together. And as you mentioned, this has been a project that has been on people's minds for a long time. We see how Farmington has grown and how the county has really benefited. First, you had Main Street, then you had 20th Street that was built. And then from 20th Street, we had 30th that was built, then Pinyon Hills. You see how the connectiveness, and you've seen the development that has happened in those areas. And now you're going to even further out into Flora Vista, looking at Crouch Mesa, connecting into Bloomfield, or into 64 that takes on into Bloomfield. And now, you're beginning to see transportation access that will now allow for more development in areas that could bring new opportunities in these different areas along that highway. And I'm really, really happy to see that. I mean, we're looking at the county development. We're looking at to see how this will really begin to enhance. And more importantly for me, it starts bringing not just looking at the development within Farmington, but it's starting to bring Aztec and it's starting to bring Bloomfield into this whole process. Because as you get that throughway developed, not only do you see benefits for the Farmington site, but it'll extend out, I believe, to Aztec and into Bloomfield.
Right. Well, we've seen a lot of growth, it seems to me, in the Crouch Mesa area for sure.
Yeah.
Even though the last census showed not huge growth, but I think the county lost population, but the city gained population, but because of the other economic factors as well. But anytime you inject $40 million into a local area, that's got to provide some positive benefits.
No, I mean, you hit it right on the head. There's a lot of direct jobs involved with that. But along with those direct jobs, there are a lot of indirect jobs, service-related jobs that support that construction. And those dollars can flow from different businesses here in San Juan County. And so again, those are real benefits for the area, not only in the actual construction of that and the development of that thoroughway, but once the thoroughway is complete and being utilized, then you'll start seeing longer term development happening along that area. And again, it'll be up to the leadership into the future to figure out how best to do that development, so that, again, you're looking out for the benefit of all, not only for businesses and business development and communities and allowing them to begin to grow and develop, but you're also looking at the residents in those areas. How will it benefit them? And how would it be effective for them?
A lot of folks had said when it was first proposed that this road would help alleviate some of the traffic on East Main Street in Farmington by having another crossing, because right now, if you think about it, the only way to get across the Animas River is either Browning Parkway or Flora Vista, and there's nothing really in between. This would be another crossing in between there and would maybe help get more traffic on and off of Crouch Mesa back and forth.
You know, and again, that really helps out in a number of areas. And as I indicated before, as you begin to do that, and as you get more vehicular travel along those routes, then people start looking at opportunities along that, and you start seeing development happening along that road.
Right.
And so again, those are some of the things that we're looking at. We're focused on bringing new industry. We're looking at bringing new opportunities here to the county. This allows us to look at further development to help support whatever industry we have, because it opens up different parcels of land where people can go and develop.
Right.
And
there's already roads there, we should say.
Yeah,
I mean, there's not a
there,
bridge, but it's a dirt road, or
Right.
it's a gravel road, or something like that. This is a obviously more developed road for more traffic. That would handle more traffic.
Exactly.
Got you. And for folks that are maybe looking at expanding their business or ideally moving in from out of town, I mean, does that type of a multi-million-dollar investment reflect well on a community that the state's willing to invest this much money in San Juan County and sees the benefits of putting this type of infrastructure in for future growth and things like that? Do companies look at that and say, wow, that's a good thing, and the roads aren't crumbling away and the state's just abandoning that community? They're not.
No, I mean, they're looking at investing in this area. And like I said, I think the real benefit we see is that the growth and development now are not just centered around Farmington, but it incorporates the full county on the eastern side of the county, looking at Bloomfield and Aztec and how can they take advantage of this. And so again, I see some real positives from this. We got to continue to build on that aspect and work that process. But this is a tremendous investment, and it does show that the state is interested in this region here, and they see possibilities here in northwestern New Mexico. And so, I feel real good about that, and I think people will be real positive as we move forward with this whole project. I mean, the governor was here to announce that project, and so that shows the kind of interest there is in bringing this project here to San Juan County.
Right. It seems to me too. And of course, the other thing I would mention is with that big investment of state dollars, I mean, this is a project that the communities, Farmington, even to Farmington, Aztec, Bloomfield, and the county, if they all pool together, it'd be very difficult, I think, for them to pay for it on their own, which is what we see.
Exactly.
It takes a state government or federal government to build the scope of a project.
Yeah. And so that's kind of what is needed. And so that's why, coming back to what we were first talking about, this rapid response team, we can't do a lot of this development on our own. We need an influx of capital money coming in to help assist us in getting these pieces in place. And so again, this rapid response team, much like the state did with that with the highway, this rapid response team, I'm looking to them to help us and assist us in bringing some of those federal dollars here to San Juan County.
Very good. Arvin, we are out of time. It always happens to us, but we're out of time. So thank you for coming in. Appreciate you being here, of course. We'll talk to you again next month.
It's been a pleasure, Scott, and looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you very much. That's Arvin Trujillo. He is Executive Director of Four Corners Economic Development, my guest here on KSJE.
KSJE and San Juan College present the Student Success Coaching Tip of the Week.
Hello, this is Emin Chi from the Student Achievement Center bringing you Week 3 Coaching Tips of the Week. Making it a routine, getting yourself into a study routine is one of the best ways to make sure studying becomes a part of your everyday habit. Figure out what time of the day works best for you and make a real effort to dedicate that time to reviewing notes, videos, and other related resources. Also, pick times during the week to try out your studying. You can try studying in the morning on one day, the afternoon on another day, and in the evening that works best for you when there are no distractions at the end of the night. Once you've decided which time works best for you, try to stick with that time of the day, every day, or at least 3 days a week, to get in the habit of studying consistently. You might wind up rearranging your routine due to extracurricular activities, times with your friends, and other commitments. But be sure to prioritize your studies and get them done in one way or another.
The Student Success Coaching Tip of the Week, presented by KSJE and the Student Achievement Center at San Juan College. KSJE is supported by Aztec Motocross. Located on Highway 173, Aztec Motocross offers a safe and competitive racing environment for the growing off-road and outdoor industry. Upcoming racing weekends, September 24th and 25th, and October 22nd and 23rd. Also, the New Mexico State Championship Motocross Race Series, October 8th and 9th. Find out more online at aztecmotocross.com or 505-393-5222. KSJE is supported by the Farmington Museum. What if you could jump into the world of wild kratts and swing through the trees like a monkey, or hunt like a dragonfish? Now you can. Wild Kratts, Creature Power, and Ocean Adventure Museum Exhibit, opening September 24th through January 7th at the Farmington Museum. Tickets at farmingtonmuseum.org.
When an algorithm is making life and death decisions, who should get a say in